Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited for this episode, and there's a lot to talk about and get into. The first thing I wanted to mention, super quick, before we actually build any liquid biofuel, is that factory over there. Still never finished the cosmetics for it. I'm still a little bit unsure on what I'm going to do, although I will finish it, I promise. It's kind of not that bad just leaving it open, but I do think we could do something to make it look a bit better. Just something I wanted to touch on really quickly is that the frame rate of this factory is horrendous. If I look around over here, I have a nice smooth frame rate, at least for me. I turn around and it gets very choppy indeed. So that's going to be probably, my educated guess on this would be that there's a lot of lights and then there's also a lot of smoke intersecting with the lights. And it's not just about the light shafts, but just the ambient light that's in the area overall. From my perspective here, we're also stacking lights behind each other. Lights create something called an alpha channel, right, that your GPU has to process. So it's saying like, okay, I need to render this, but also what's behind it. And we're stacking that many times over. Plus the VFX of the smoke, which is also an alpha channel, and that's being stacked behind itself. So I think it's amazing, even at this distance, it has a pretty noticeable impact on my hardware. And you can check my specs in the description. People often ask me, what are my settings, what are my specs? I'll just show it really quickly, because people often ask. So you're going to have to just pause the video, but these are all my settings so far, okay? Now, I've tried running the game with DLSS and a few other things as a test, but it doesn't really alleviate the problem, so I just thought I would mention that going forward, I'm probably not going to use these lights anymore. The floodlights on the Spirestream pipeline, they're totally fine, and we could set these to only come on at night, so that the frame rate just dips if it's nighttime and I happen to be looking in there. But yeah, going forward, what I'm going to do is use an old blueprint I had in a previous series of mine called the clean ceiling light. So I can build just one of these because it does take crystal oscillators, and it's not going to be the best example because we are outside right now, but it's basically a very clean ceiling light, sort of like a fluorescent office light in some ways. Gives you that headache just thinking about it. But if we get rid of this bit, you can just see it is using a billboard. A large billboard with just a blank color on it. You can change that color to be different, and I'll probably use this in the Liquid Biofuel Factory today and see if I can go find or make some crystal oscillators just to be able to do that, just making them manually. Alright, so that's just the stuff I wanted to touch on. Let's get over to the Liquid Biofuel Factory itself. So, why are we doing liquid biofuel? Well, basically, it's an amazing fuel type for your jetpack, so it's really great for a slow burn rate to allow you to jetpack for very long, up to really far away distances. The turbo fuel packaged turbo fuel is great. It gives you a huge acceleration boost, but the liquid biofuel, in my opinion, just lets you go way further and for much longer, so I just prefer it that way. Also, it's just vastly underrated. It can really last you a very, very long time when combined with Somersloops. So we can create tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of packaged biofuel from only, 20 minutes of just hunting some animals and things like that, just picking up a bit of wood. So you can get a lot out of it. Now, I know to some it's a little not safe, because eventually it does run out if you don't feed it. But we're going to make a system where we can feed it as painlessly as possible. So in my first iteration of a liquid biofuel factory, I built it deep underground. Maybe not the best idea, because you did have to run down there fairly frequently to get to it. So building it out of the way, while it did look nice, was a little bit of a pain, right? We had to run down to this awkward to reach place, deposit our stuff, wait for it, and then get the stuff and go out. So that was cool. That was, I suppose, fashion over function in a way. It was designed to look cool more than it was for anything else. But see, the cool thing with a liquid biofuel factory is it can be built pretty much anywhere. All you need is a little bit of water, and then you can kind of decide how you're going to get it. I meant to actually go into the man while I was over there, but we're going to use the recipe for a coated iron canister. So canisters are normally using plastic. We don't really want an oil-based product limiting us in terms of making canisters for the packaged biofuel to go into. So instead, we'll use this recipe. A little bit of copper, a little bit of iron, bada bing, bada boom. You'll have your canisters, no problem. And that's why I've chosen this location. Not only is it a beautiful scenic marvel, it also has an impure node of iron and copper just over there, and it's got some water. Plus, there's nothing else really here, so it felt like this is probably a good place to be able to do that. I'll pick that up in a minute. Another thing, you can go find yourself Somersloops and spheres and stuff in that cave up there, but also just all around generally. I thought it was worth mentioning that I've gone and grabbed a bunch. So I've got 8 Mercer spheres. You're going to need about 3 or 4, I think, for this place. And then Somersloops, I've got 16. I think maybe we need 14, and then I've gone and collected just a bunch of different remains, right? We have spitter remains, hog remains, hatcher remains, stinger remains, leaves, biofuel, wood. So a little bit of everything that can really go into this factory, including power slugs, because this is going to be a big slooping area for all of that. So on the right side of the screen, we have our to-do list: foundations, machines, logistics, cosmetics, and then a test run. And we'll get started by building out our first foundations right here. So using these bushes and these little 3 stones / rocks, this will give us our first orientation point. So how do I know that? Why have I decided that? That's based on trial and error. You know, I was deciding on where to build behind the scenes, and I decided this seems like a good location, so we're going to build as far as here. And then after that, I'll be kind of winging it once I get my initial foundations down. So the idea here would be we're going to go out 10, including the one I'm on, so that's 11 out this way. And then to the right, we're going to go 17. So I'm on 1. We'll need to go 16. So that's 10, so it's 11. And then 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. And then this is going to go to 10 also. So it's just a big rectangle, and there should be a little bit of sand creeping through. That's how we know we've done it right. And it does bother me, but we'll just have to live with it. Yeah, a little sand accumulating in the corners of the factory. I could see it happening. Now, the reason I mentioned that underground biofuel place and the fact that this is overground, later on in a different series in my stream world, where I just recently completed the game for the first time after playing the game for like 2,000 hours, but I've just beaten the game, so now I'm authoritatively speaking on it. I've got some experience, although I still haven't made everything. There's lots of things I've ignored in that playthrough. One of the things I did learn is the use of drones, right? Drones are actually really, really great at remotely delivering or remotely picking up stuff. And you can even bring stuff to your location. When combined with the dimensional depot, we can make sure that we never even have to go into this factory at all once we get drones. We can have the biofuel populate our dimensional depot, be kind of brought right into us. We can make sure drones deliver it to the various truck stations around the world. And then we're just going to be able to, wherever we are in the world, call a drone to our location, get our biofuel delivered, or send bioorganic material. Imagine we're down in the south of the world right now. We're full of all this stuff, and we're like, oh, I don't want to carry this around. We just build a drone port, send it here. It'll send all the stuff here and return us liquid biofuel. It works. We've done it in my stream world. It's really great. So that's the idea, and that's what we're going to do here. And that will make everything as automated as possible when it comes to liquid biofuel. Okay, so that's the first part of the floor. Hopefully I've done a good, decent explanation of, why we're building this and, what we can expect and what's going to be coming. So we need to do the next floor now. So I'm just going to go here and build up and over this. And then we'll have to figure out the next layer. So I think we're going to go up 16 meters in total. So that's 4. So I guess it'll be 4 of these, right? Yeah. So that's as high as we're going to go. I'll just get rid of this bottom bit for now. Although I think using a solid concrete wall across the place would look actually pretty cool. Alright, so this will be our new height. Now, for this, we got to go... It's still going to be 11 across, but we're aiming for that deposit and that one as well. So I'll start on the right side because we'll have to chip away bits of that rock. But I think basically what we need to do now is go out to 15 from here, but using a foundation 2. So, I've got blueprints for this. Ah, yes. Universal cosmetic, no, universal buildables. I now have foundations, 4x4, 2 layers. So we want to make the top layer different than the bottom layer, so that when we're down here, the roof looks different than the floor. We don't want a polished roof. It would be kind of strange. Or at least I don't, but you can have it if you want. Right, so 1 there. We'll just use blueprint mode. Just keep bringing this out. Still haven't unlocked the bigger blueprint designer yet, so still using the 4x4 for now. And this needs to go as far as leaving a gap of 2. So that's a gap of 1. We'll chop off that little end bit then in a minute, but we'll just pop that down here. And we'll bring this one out as well. Right, so it looks like we have a bit of spillover just by 1 on each side. So just going to remove that side and then the end as well. Alright, so there we go. So now we've got this nice double-sided floor, right? Underneath we have the grip metal. On top we have the polished concrete where we walk around. So we don't have to do that everywhere. It's just every now and then when we want to have 2-sided floors and make it look a bit better. This should now go to, I think, 15. So if we just go with here, all the way down. So that's 16, but that's correct. So the 16th foundation is the one that's a 4 meter, but 15 in terms of the actual walking space inside. So it's cool. So it's to there. So now we have to go from here a further 14, including the one I'm on. So that's 10 plus the one I'm on, so that's 11, 12, 13, and 14. And this is just going to go all the way across now. And then link up, so it's the same width, 11 the whole way across. Big rectangular building, basically, with 3 floors is ultimately what my vision is. So we'll do that. We can fill this in with the 4-meter concrete as well. Does that go across? It should go to 9, basically. Yeah. We can pull it in from the far side each time. And lock it in. I'll just, for a moment, color this different to know that the copper resource is there. Alright, and then the very final thing should just be getting onto this one. I think it's all the same height. So 11, I want to say, from here. So that's 10. And we'll go across 3, like a little corridor. Creature in the way here. Oh no, I'm actually just out of plastic. Oh, that's fine. We'll get some in the dimensional depot soon. So now, every time we come across a creature, you just gotta look at him and think it's just more fuel for the biofuel factory, you know? Alright, so I just made a quick run to get some extra materials. I'm storing them in that container there for now. So we have our copper deposit there, our iron deposit over here. So this is now 3 across, 11 deep. So next we have to do the top floor. So I don't have drones unlocked right now, of course. It's a bit early for that, but we want to build this top floor knowing that we're going to have drone ports available in the future. And it might just make the place cosmetically look a little bit nicer. So I've marked this one black. This is the 18th foundation away from the very edge over there. So number 18. This is as high as we're going to go up, or as far down as the roof is going to go, if that makes sense. So let's say 6 walls high. About there. And then I'm going to bring this across by 4. Now, or to 4 in total. So we got 4 walls across and we got 6 high. So just get rid of that for a moment. The reason I've done this is so that we can grab our blueprint here. I'm going to switch it. This is the B variant. Going to switch it to the A variant. Not great naming, I'll admit, but it's basically saying that the materials are changing. So it's no longer the coated concrete on top or the polished concrete. It's now just regular concrete. And you can have so many of different variants of this kind of thing that I can't fit it in the name, really. Because the names of everything would be a bit too long, and I don't want to give every material like a code name or anything. It just seems a bit over the top. Instead, we'll just go A, B, C, D, and if we get confused, we just look inside of the blueprints, and we can see here it says top concrete, bottom grip metal, top polished concrete, bottom grip metal, etc. Right, so just grab this, going to pave it all the way out to the very edge, and then we'll just chop off any extra bits that we don't need anymore. This is where I was going, by the way. I just went to go get some steel for the grip metal. Alright, cool. So I think that's pretty much it. Ooh, I left a little bit sticking out down here. Let's get the staircase going upstairs done before we say that we're going to mark off the foundations completed. So in order to do the staircase, I think I'll start just before here. So this is our sort of delineation wall between this part of the factory and then being able to go downstairs into what I'm going to call storage. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Right, so yeah, we'll start here. I've got a new blueprint again. It's somewhat new. If you've seen other series of mine, you may have seen it before, but I've got a new spin on it. So it's just a couple of stairs, little platform, but now I've got a support built in as well. Now, in order to get this built properly, and by the way, all these blueprints, of course, are out for free, right? whatdarrenplays.com/satisfactory. So just go to that link. It's in the description. I've said it verbally. Sometimes it's on screen. And also, at that link, it'll tell you how to install them. A lot of people don't even click it because they're worried like, oh, I don't really know how to do that. And they come in asking how to do that stuff. But it's there. A little step-by-step guide on what to do. So, and it's easy. All right, so next thing. And it's free. Other people think there's like ads on the site or something. There isn't. It's a Google Drive link. So that's all. Anyway, just going to put down walls here for the moment. This is temporary because if I was to try and latch this on using blueprint mode to this one, there's no way to get it to go up to the correct area. There's no vertical nudging in the game at the moment, so, and even if there was, I don't know if it would be enough. You'd have to use like Infinite Nudge, the mod or something. So I'm just going to build this as a temporary sort of tower, a 3x3, right? So a 3x3 foundation inside. And we're just going to wall the whole thing, and as we run up, then we'll have latch points to build our blueprint onto. Just makes life a little easier. So I'll just be getting rid of this in a minute. I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe the tower can stay here, but maybe we'll just leave it out in the open. So this is where we do want it. We can shift it across. Looking good. Bonk. And then again, I'm able to place this now because I'm looking at the wall. That's why the wall is there. Okay, cool. So now, I'll just get rid of the wall, and we can have a look at what this looks like. Alright, so this is what we've got now. Now that the walls have all been removed, we'll just also get rid of course, the foundations that are blocking the way of getting up there. And I suppose these ones as well. Nice, so we've got a nice straight run all the way up and down now. Nice and easy. Alright, cool. The next thing will be actually building those pillar supports. So what I've done there is click the metal support pillar, then we press E just to get to the actual pillar itself. Press R to get zoom mode, bring it all the way down. I'll just bring that down one off the ground. And then we'll just grab the pillar and it'll just snap onto the bottom. We're all about building quick and efficiently here in the What Darren Plays community. Alright, yeah, happy enough with that, right? Allows us to get up and down. The idea for me, anyway, is that the drone ports are going to be over on this side somewhere, so they can go down beneath and feed into the storage area. So that's foundations now done. We can, well, for the most part. I have to decide where the staircases are going to go down into this area. I imagine it would have to be somewhere on this line. So we'll do that in a bit, but you know, that's basically now the foundation's done. And we can start lining up the machines. Now, machines is the next category, but that includes, I would say, storage. I want to get the storage things actually down first, just while we're here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on this foundation in the middle of it, the 6th and 7th in the middle, gonna go with a... Oh, actually, I've got a blueprint for this, thinking about it too. The large container with signs. Oh, actually, I don't know if these need signs. They're all gonna have biofuel in it. It might look kind of cool, though, just giving them letters and numbers, actually. Yeah, let's just do that for the fun of it. This one's gonna aim out to the right. I'll pop it in the center. So we need quartz crystal to build these, I guess, because they got signs in them. And we're nice and lined up in the center. Good, so that's just one. And we have to alternate them, so it's a bit confusing for me, actually. Which way are you facing? You're facing forward. So basically, they all have to go the opposite direction. So I guess I'll look at the arrows coming out of this one. Or I'll tell you what, every second foundation, if we just do that, then we'll go back in the other direction. It's probably easier that way, right? So we're still lined up now. Everything's facing towards me. And this is because we need a massive storage supply of liquid biofuel. So there's going to be so many containers. And then these ones are going to face that way. So the opposite direction in the middle of these foundations. And then they're going to stack on top of each other as well. Alright, so there we have it, our strategic reserve of packaged liquid biofuel. 16 containers in total. So that's going to be 16 times 4,800. So 76,800 packaged liquid biofuel can be stored here, not counting the industrial fluid buffer that we're going to have storing up the liquid biofuel in addition to this if we're backed up completely, and also the drone port that'll be ready to fly stuff out of here. And trust me, this will be full. I guarantee it. I mean, we could make the case for actually tripling this, really, but I mean, at the end of the day, we don't really need that much. Now, we need to connect all of these together. Basically, we've left 2 foundations on this side and just 1 on the other side, so 16 containers in total. So the way we're going to connect them is just plug in a lift at the back of each one. Just like so. A Mark 1 is totally fine. I mean, it could make the case for a Mark 2, but 60 packaged liquid biofuel per minute, I don't think we'll ever consume that much. Even with all my trucks driving them. I've got a world with like 100 trucks driving around, or thereabouts, about 60 or 70 trucks I think in total. And they're not even touching anywhere close to 60 per minute, so it's not a problem. But if it was a problem, we could just easily go up to a Mark II and double the output of the refinery. It'd be fine. So what we'll do then is just grab our belts now. So we're going to be feeding into this one. This one is number 1, then number 2, then number 3, then number 4. So we're kind of zigzagging up and down like this as we snake all the way down to the end. So we're feeding into this one. We go out the back and up and into this one. So then we go across here, and we just keep doing that. And I can paint these as well to make them look a bit better. In order to keep the theming, maybe you could just do that really quickly right now. So that one's done. And the belts, I'll make that kind of turquoise green as well, just to kind of make them pop a bit. Alright, cool. So that's it. So 76,000, let's just call it 80,000 liquid biofuel can be stored here, packaged and ready to go. And then out of this one, we're going to send it up to a drone port somewhere up there. Alright, so got to figure out now where the machines are going to go. So that's going to require me just doing a little bit of prep here and determining how we're going to get down to this area. Alright, so in working with this big wall of concrete here, I think what I'm going to do is go in by 2 and then over by 1, and this will be cut out and become a staircase that leads down. And we'll do the same on the other side to try and make it somewhat symmetrical. So 1, 2, and then this little gap of 4 here, so just cut that out. And then I'm going to use the nice foundation stairs, coated concrete, rotate that around, and just bring it down by 2, and then this can be matched on this side. So down there, and down there. That should give us good clearance. Then we'll just go up to foundations here that go straight across. And I'm not sure about the placement of the other stairs, but there will be more stairs, and we'll fill that gap in under there. But from here, I think I can basically now go forward and start placing the machines. So I think I'm just trying to think. 1, 2, this will give us room for a belt that goes all the way down there. And our deposit box is going to be somewhere next to these stairs. So that's the box that we put everything into. So yeah, I'm thinking if we go across 2 here, this is where we could start our first foundation. And I believe we go across 3. So I'm going to be cutting that out. And then with a gap between each one. So that'll be another group, that'll be another group, and that'll be another group. And that gives us 2 on each side. Yep, nice. Right, so just cut all these out. And we're left with that gap down below. Perfect. Right, so we've got a new blueprint for this. We should be able to place it, I think, from just up here. What did I do? It's in architecture. So architecture is kind of my category for unique factory layouts. It's mostly for cosmetics, but this one does have a machine in it. Because it's so specific to this factory, I consider it like the architecture of it. So which direction are we aiming? We're aiming for this direction. So we'll just bring this all the way towards me here. Lock it in place. So that's basically what we've got. It takes a lot, actually. We need some AI limiters, some quartz crystal. But that'll be our first little constructor. So we need 4 in a line. So I'll just do these 4. And then we can kind of say what they're going to be. Based on the logic map that we have. Yeah, so I've decided instead of starting and setting all the recipes, we'll do that last. So we'll worry about that after the fact. Instead, for now, let's just worry about the layout. So I'm going to leave a gap between these. And then we're going to do the same thing again. So 1, 2, 3 here. That way we get another gap, and then we get 1, 2, 3, and then there's a gap at the end. So that way everything fits, because there's going to be 16 constructors here in total. So they're just going to match each other's layouts, right? We just cut gaps and grooves into the concrete here. And I'll remove that bottom bit, and then I'll just place these ones down again. Right, so I was just about to place these again, and I just realized I never actually talked about what goes into this blueprint. So basically, it's a constructor. We have a merger on the far side, and then we have smart splitters leading in. But you might be wondering, what's going on here? Well, it's because down below, this is our storage area. So in my experience building one of these types of factories before, one of the problems I ran into was, let's say we have a deposit box, right? So the idea is that we're going to have a box somewhere here. We'll drop our whole inventory into it. You can drop anything you want in here. And then it'll sort automatically the bioorganic material and determine which constructors that it needs to go into. We'll do that using a programmable splitter. We should only need 1, but I'm going to use 2. In theory, you don't need any. You could do it with lots of smart splitters, but for ease and making the place look nice, 2 programmable splitters I think is reasonable, and the rest will be smart splitters. Anyways, so what's going to come out of here will go down this line, it'll go down to the next line, down to the next line. But what can often happen is, let's say I've got tons of wood, right? So I've got maybe 1,000 wood, and I've got some slugs. And the slugs are behind the wood in the inventory of the box. So what happens is you have to wait for all the wood to get out. But the machine can only take so much. And when you do wood or protein, let's say, or whatever, into biomass, it can be a huge volume. So the machine struggles to get it out because maybe our containers are all full. So you're just sitting there waiting for your thing to make it down the line. But what can alleviate that is building in storage for each component. So basically, we'll have a container for wood, we'll have a container for leaves and protein and biomass and everything, and it'll just sit snugly and hidden away underneath each constructor so that our flow can continue and go into this underneath storage. Now, if that container gets full, then fair enough, you're out of luck. But by that point, I don't know, you're sending in a lot. The other thing I'm going to do to help that is the first rows are going to be actually doing things like the slugs and power shards, because that's going to be the ones you want most importantly, and then the other rows will do biomass. So that's the reason for having these ones first, and we'll talk about which ones get what later. But I just thought I would mention that. That's what the blueprint, the idea behind the blueprint is. So we'll just pop these down in each one, then I have to set what each one does, and we'll talk about how we're going to connect them all together, basically. Now, when placing these, what we can do is actually get rid of that beam, and just extend this one, the full 40 meters, into that one, and it just needs to be painted chrome to match the others. This way it's just less objects in the world, I guess, and I don't know, just a bit easier for building rather than having to make 4 little beams. Alright, so the machines are in place, and I've actually gone around and updated their labels to be correct. So, for instance, on this line, everything has been made into alien protein, right? So we have hog remains, then we have spitter remains in this machine, then we've got hatcher remains here, and finally stinger remains, right? So these will all connect together. We'll talk about that on the logistics section. But if we just hop downstairs really quickly, the same then is reflected down here, right? So we can see more clearly B1 hog, B2 spitter, B3 hatcher, B4 stinger. Okay, so at least if we're down here, we know exactly what is being filled or what should be filled if we're running low, if something's not making it here for whatever reason. You know, it's just good to have it organized. I think it's kind of nice. Now, this is our staircase area. This is why I wanted to do those ones first before doing the additional staircases. Now we can build staircases in between, just going down 2 layers, I think, like that. And this should look kind of cool to be able to walk down, I think, and we'll fill in some of the gaps next to them as well. So let's go like that. Yeah, this actually works out really well because it leaves a foundation on either side, which I kind of needed. Grab this, and down we go. Cool. I guess it does somewhat block that, but whatever, it's all good. We can kind of see what it's doing anyway, and it's not super, super important, but it's good to have it marked either way. Right, so in this area, we gotta decide where the next machine goes. So the refinery is going to be in the center of this area, and my goal is to have, we want to be able to see the solid biofuel and the water go up into that machine. That's what we need. So I'm just going to go straight across with this. We might have to change some of this in a minute, depending how we do things. That can come out here, that can come out here, that can go there. Now we need just a 2-meter foundation to fill these little gaps I've created. And sorry, I've got Zoop on, so sometimes it just comes out a bit too far, but that's alright. Too lazy to switch to default mode. Right, so now we've got a little crevice here. Perfect. So we'll get rid of this. I'll make this a 1 meter. And we need to make this match the machine's layout. Now I assume, just see if we can wing it. I assume if we go there, and we go here. Now that's a 1 meter above us, right? That's a grip metal. And then this is a 1 meter. But what happens is, if you build 2 foundations that are 1 meter and you put a floor hole through it, it only goes through the first meter. It's just checking for what one material is rather than going all the way through, basically. So we just have to temporarily get rid of that, make it a 2 meter. This is why cosmetics are a pain, or they can be. Pop that in, and we'll pop that in. Now I can get rid of this if I wanted, and we can stick it back to it the way it was, right? So now it's grip metal again, that's okay. And upstairs we can continue with the coated concrete. Now, did I do this correctly? Let's see. So we'll get a refinery. And yeah, looks like we're good. So just give it a little bit of space. Why not? See if we can somewhat center align the machine. So a gap between either edge foundation, right? Yeah. Now, our chimney stack goes through the roof, and this is right on top. So I'll create a gap here to have it like the steam kind of is boiling out of this and the chimney stack goes out. So we'll let it breathe. We'll let it breathe. We'll give it some sort of mini balcony with a roof extended over it. It shouldn't get in the way of anything like the drones or anything like that. Okay, so here we'll just connect that in straight away. And here we said we're only dealing with, I think it's going to be Mark 1. And we go straight in. So we're selecting liquid biofuel and we're going to go down to 50%. Right, so it does 60 per minute by default. But if we go down to 50% and then we sloop it, we'll get twice as much out for half as much in. So we'll make much more use of our biofuel. We're doubling the solid biofuel. The water aspect doesn't really matter, but it's, I guess, somewhat better. But obviously we're increasing power consumption by throwing this in, but we're reducing it by going down to 50%. Alright, so we'll deal with that in the logistics section again a little bit later, but there we go. Our liquid biofuel refinery. Looks alright. Oh, I must have deleted that by mistake. We'll pop that back in. Oh yeah, it's interesting actually having this here. We could get rid of that also. I shouldn't be doing cosmetics now, but I'm addicted to it. If we just do 2 meters across this way, that just looks a bit better. That's a more solid wall here. And that's 2 and 2, 2 and 2. So I suppose, if you want to get crazy, you can make that a 4 and 4. Less objects to worry about. Thicker walls. I'll do the same on the left side. Anyways, so now if we go here, there we go. We could do a pipeline here. We can make this. The idea behind this was to make it not clean though. We'll make it a regular pipeline so we can actually see it bulging. Because I know you guys love that. And then here, we'll get the standard lift, so we can again see the liquid biofuel going up. So we'll rotate it around that way. Nice. And we could just put down a little fence or something to say, like, cordon off the area. And I'll put some lights or something in there later. Alright, cool. It was just more to get the layout, so we know where that machine has to go now. What other machines do we need? So we have to be able to actually make canisters to package the liquid biofuel, of course. So we'll start with a miner here. Miner Mark 1 on the copper deposit, totally fine. And we'll go with a miner Mark 2 on the iron deposit. If I could just chop this bit away and get a little peek at the ore. There we go, we can line it up a bit better. So, out of this we need 45. So there we go, 75% clock speed. So no power shard needed. Either this or a miner Mark 1 with a power shard would do the job. The other one needs to be on 30. Well, we'll just start with this chain first. I suppose we're in the sort of machines and logistics phase now. So let's see. So what we need to go into is 2 smelters. Let's see. If we I don't need this to be aligned with anything but the machine itself, really. Although it's always nice to. Let's see if we can do that. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, cool. So 2 smelters. I think on the line of the foundation would be good there. I can just go straight in. So now our 45 is getting divided into each of these. So what's that? It's 22.5, right? 22.5 is what you need to be making. Cool. We'll just copy that setting. So it's 75%, just like the miner. Same with that one. Now, these need to go into 2 constructors, I guess. So each one will have its own constructor right in front. Nice. Okay, and they're making iron plates. And I think these need to be underclocked as well. So ultimately we're trying to make 30 iron plates. So again, it's 75%. So everything's 75 across the board here. Alright, cool. So they can now merge back up. So we'll just build a merger like here. Alright, and then out of there is what we need. Cool, so now let's do a similar thing for here. So that's 30 iron plates per minute, straightforward. Over here, we're going to try and do 15, I think, copper sheet per minute. So the way we do that, it's 30 ore. This does 30 by default because it's an impure node. Then we're going to get just 1 smelter, I guess, straight in front. Just trying to think, should we go to the very edge? Sure. Alright, so that's straight in. Copper, so 30 to 30, no problem there. And then we get 1 constructor. Or is it 2? I'll have to check. That does technically it'd be 2 then. Okay. So for 2 constructors, we'll just need a bit more room. Okay. So that's set to copper ingot. The 30 ingots split evenly. And we need to do 75. Actually, yeah, 75. So 15 and 15. Sweet. Alright, cool. I love how, like, I've been dealing with some of the most crazy numbers in a stream of mine, and then when you get back to basics, I still have to, like, be like, what? How do we... You know, it's like some of the simplest math, but it still trips me up. Alright, cool. So there we go. So that is now... Well, we need to merge that back up. Somewhere here. Good, so it's aligned. So very similar to this. Now we can get our assembler to do both. Yeah, I think I'm going to position it here so it's in the middle of this line here. It's just silly things, but you're always going to be off somewhere, I guess, with something like this. But I'm going to push this back to here instead. So we'll get rid of that, and that. So you can now go in there, and you can go in here instead. That can go all the way down and connect in, and this can go over there and connect in. So that way, we're now feeding this from both sides. So that's going to be the alternate recipe that we unlocked earlier, coated iron canister, 30 and 15, 60 per minute. So 15 copper sheets. So we should be getting 7.5 out of each one. Yep. All right, great. So this ultimately now has to roll around into a packager, and the packager is going to be taking stuff from this. Now, we have to roll out and go into a fluid buffer, ideally a big one. The industrial fluid buffer. So we'll try to give that some space. So it's going to be center aligned with the foundation. We'll just curve the pipe a little. I don't mind doing that, as long as it works. So let's just see if that will work. Yeah, that's fine by me. So it just plugs in like that, squiggles its way over and in. We have our big industrial fluid buffer now. Here is the centerpiece along with the refinery to this build. And then this is going to have to turn and make its way out into a little packaging area. So I'm just trying to think where we're going to do that. So the pipe could come out and go along here. Roll into this. So what we're going to do is cut this away. Should I go closer? I don't know. I wanted to go down to 2 meters. The reason for that is the packager has a raised input for liquid. And it just means a little bit of biofuel will slightly struggle over time to get to where it needs to go. So we'll push this all the way to the halfway mark, if possible, which is there, I think. Looks right to me. Get rid of this. Cool. Right. I haven't done this before, so I'm just winging it. I think this will work, though. 1, 2. So that's the correct height. Now, obviously, we need to bring in the solid... What do we need? the canister. Sorry, I was going to say solid biofuel. That wouldn't be right. The canisters, which are coming from here. Cool. Right. So the idea would be to bring... I can't do that. Bring this out to the side. Let me just turn off straight mode, actually, for a second. Right, we'll do this to 1, 2, so we know where we're supposed to be lined up. Get it to about there at the very least. Then if we get our lift, and we bring our lift to here, I think what we can maybe manage is the input to be here. If I just shift that over, get this, bring it down, rotate around. That just snaps that way. We can remove this now and feed this straight in there on a straight belt. Now, with the tube looking really big, if we just upgrade it to like a Mark II and then bring it back to a Mark I, the tubes will correct themselves. We're snugly fitting in underneath our machine and we're not clipping through anything. How good is that? We'll do the same thing here. So, again, we need a 2 meter. I'm going to change that to a grip metal. It'll look better down there, I think, rather than polished concrete. It's not really supposed to be an area we walk in that much. I like the squat thing, but maybe this would work a bit better. 1, 2, and just go straight into the top part. That way we're free to walk under this, which is a bit nicer also. But it does allow me then to just put that modern rail back in. Alright, cool. So yeah, that fits quite snugly in there. So with the packager then, we say packaged liquid biofuel. It's looking for 40 per minute and 40 per minute, so I would probably just overclock this. As mentioned, you could just build a second one, but I kind of like it, just having one here like this. Another one here with a merger then going into there, that'll be totally fine, right? There's plenty of room, but I'm happy to commit 1 power shard and a little bit of extra power. Just again, for kind of the aesthetics of it more than anything. Okay, I think that's all the machines, isn't it? What else am I missing? I feel like I might be missing something. Alright, we can build our storage container then for sending in stuff. Right, so this is going to be our deposit all box, the first one. Just make sure that's aligned. Cool. And then we'll need one on the opposite side, which is now going to be the opposite. It's going to be the stuff that we weren't meaning to drop in there. Anything that goes in by accident or can't be used by this facility. So instead of backing up all your machines because you accidentally threw something in, like concrete, it's just going to make its way here instead. So just pop that down there with the opposite facing direction. Hopefully that works. So to more accurately reflect what goes in there, there we go. Bit of a better sign on that. So bio-organic material gets deposited in there, and then anything that can't be processed will end up in this one. So hopefully that'll all work out. Technically, some things, actually, just thinking about it, considering I'm holding a nut, things like that will actually end up in there, and that's debatable. You know, it's technically bio-organic, but it can't be processed, so you get the idea. Okay, so in order to actually get the programmable splitter built, we have to go into the Caterium chain, and it's down here. So we need more AI limiters, computers, and heavy modular frames. Now currently, I can't make computers. We could make heavy modular frames, I think, but I don't think I have the recipe for computers. But luckily, all of the various hard drive sites, right? This is where I keep all the stuff from various hard drive sites. We have some aluminum. Obviously, I can't make that. Turbo motors, fuse frames, heat sinks. You want to keep everything you find. And I've mentioned all the ones that I've gone to. Again, you can download my save. You can see which hard drive sites I've gone to if you want at satisfactorycalculator.com. If you just Google that, you'll figure it out. So we've got some computers here. Some of these I was saving for milestones, but this is just as good. So what did we need? Only, was it 100 or 50? We just need 50, actually. You need 100 for a different milestone later. So let me just keep 50, and then we'll take 50 of these. And then I'm currently making some more AI limiters here. So we partially automated, quick wire and copper sheeting. That just goes into a dimensional depot. So even just from here, we can watch these numbers tick up, pull it out, throw it into this machine. We're slooping it, we're speeding it up. I've got nearly 80 now, so just give it a couple extra minutes. We'll have the 100 we need, and we can get our first couple of programmable splitters. We'll need additional computers and stuff to actually build one or two, but at least I've got that for now. Alright, so I've got what I need. Run into our little workshop. So Caterium chain, programmable splitter. See you later. Alright, sweet. So let's see what it takes to make one of these. So it takes 2 computers and 5 AI limiters, and we just need 2, and then obviously 1 heavy modular frame. So I just need to grab 4 computers, basically. So I'll just take 4 out of this stack, just to get exactly what I need. Pop that back in there. Cool, and I've got some heavy modular frames, and we're making more AI limiters still right now. That should be enough, though. Built all the smart splitters. I'll let this just drain itself, and we'll get going back to the site. Alright, so this is our deposit all box, the bioorganic material, and we want to filter along down this line. So we'll grab this smart splitter, turn it into a programmable splitter. We're going to send it out from here. So I'll probably use a Mark III belt for everything, so that things don't move ultra fast but look pretty good. So we'll just roll all the way down here. Whoop, mistake. There we go. So like I said, we're on to logistics now. So I'd say that pretty much all machines have been placed. You still need to do the water extractor, but let's just tick it off the list anyway. The majority are done by far. So here, we're going to say on this line, we're going to need blue slug, yellow slug. We're also going to need a purple slug, any remaining biomass, and then also anything we don't want, right? So let's do the logistics for that. So we go through there, here, continue through here, and then straight out and in there. So the way we can basically do this is say at the very first port of call, on our left output, we're going to do any slugs, right? So we want blue, so just type slug in, yellow, purple. If we ended up dumping in biomass, and then also any undefined. That's the really important one. So anything undefined is going to go through here. So any undefined, right? So in the center of each of these, it's going to be any undefined, and then something in the left. Right, so the one on the left, I know you might think it looks like it's to go to the right, but remember we're going down underground and then back up, so it's to the left. Right, so this is obviously blue slug. So smart splitters can only have one thing, so we just go blue slug on that one. Now here we'll do yellow slug, and then again purple slug, and then finally it's going to be just biomass. And now any undefined is still going to roll through and go all the way in. So we could just test it right away. If we just throw something in here, let's throw in those 2 computers, right? We can watch them roll down. And then they'll just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and go hopefully all the way through and reach into that container down there. So this way they don't block any machine, they're not blocking anything, they're just going to go in there. Unless that container filled, which would be a devastating mistake. It would mean that I've somehow dumped my entire inventory in basically by accident. So there we go. So it works. We'll obviously test it with the actual slugs and stuff later. Right, so let's grab a second programmable splitter. We're going to go continue down this line now and drop it off here. Nope, not there. Sorry, here. Cool. So again, same thing again, right? Here we've got all the remains. Hog remains, spitter remains, hatcher remains, and stinger remains. And I can't remember, but I think it just ends here. So we'll just select all the remains out the left side now. Cool. Alright, so now the center output now says any undefined. We could list it all if we wanted to, but we don't need to. So we'll just say anything undefined by that is now going to roll this way. And we can then just plug in each smart splitter here and peel off again what we need. So just continue that all the way down, and now we're going to say, like, get wood on the smart splitter, and so on and so forth, right? So, alright, so there we go. So this first programmable splitter, to our left, blue, yellow, purple power slugs, as well as biomass and anything else that's just going to roll through here. That's because these things will likely be the least amount of things going through, so I'm happy to have the any undefined go through this area too. They should not get backed up. I mean, I don't think it's possible to back up the containers with this amount of slugs, right? So that's kind of overkill, but it's just for consistency. The center output, though, hog remains, spitter remains, hatcher, stinger. That's the first 4, and then wood, leaves, mycelia, and any alien protein that we happen to just have. Right, so this is where things are going to get a little complicated. So basically, this is a very busy one, right? The alien protein that goes into biomass. So in feeding this, we can feed it from that line, but we also want to feed it from over here, right? Because all of these get made into alien protein on their output line. So the output line is here. Right, so all of these get made into alien protein. So let's start with a Mark III belt going that way. Continuing over. Now I'm going to delete this one and delete that. We'll grab this instead. So just another merger, but aiming to the right this time. So not like it was in the blueprint. Send that there. Continue that across. And now we need to go down. But remember, we're using foundations 1, so we need to get a 2-meter foundation. Get our floor hole. Mark 3 out of our minds. We can go through now. So again, I can just clean this back up with the regular 1 meter on each. We'll hop downstairs. So now all of our protein is coming out of here. We have some protein, just in case we ended up putting it on the line to go in there. But this one is just going to be if you're coming straight down. So let's do Mark 3. In you go. Alright, cool. And we'll color these appropriately later as well. Alright, so then that way all of our protein is now going into this container. So C4. Or into this constructor, sorry. Now all of these are making biomass. That's why they're all on a line together. So again, same thing. Just using Mark III belts, totally fine. Go out this way. And this can kind of come down this side and needs to be brought all the way down out this way. So I'm just going to have to figure that out for a layout right now. Alright, so I've just been trying to work out the logistics. So the biomass is going to come out of there. We need to ultimately get it into here. The stairs are kind of blocking things, but not fully. We can roll it in this way. So I was thinking something like this. It's so trippy that it looks like the belt's moving that way, but that's just the underneath bit, right? So the top bit is going this way. Nice. Okay, so that's great. It means that we're totally hooked up. The next thing would be getting the solid biofuel to go onto a line somewhere here. All right, so this is where the solid biofuel is coming out. So this is going to be different than the other line. This line is all making power shards. So what they're going to need is a dimensional depot. And it's going to be like here. So we'll just nudge that forward. I'll use control arrow to bring it in line, because it's slightly off center. So that should be okay. It's between the machines. And send that in. Now, why no container underneath this? Just for aesthetics, we could do a container underneath it, but I don't think we need a container full of power shards. A dimensional depot full of them is fine. I'm never going to be pulling out like hundreds at a time. I won't anyway. Maybe at the... No, I just don't think I will. So let's just say I'm not going to be doing that. And they'll fill pretty quickly anyway with the Mark III. So all the power shards are just going to run straight into a dimensional depot. They will slightly back up the line as they are making some. But again, each one has a capacity for 100. I think we're okay. All right, so similarly, we'll need a dimensional depot on this side of things. What am I lacking? Fluctuators. I'm going to have to make those real quick. All right, so dimensional depot again. And again, we'll use our control arrow to get it in line. Now this is going to be a smart splitter. Aiming out to the right. It's pretty close there, but I think it's okay. Now, why do we need a dimensional depot for this? Well, basically, for liquid biofuel, you want to have some in your inventory if you want to use a chainsaw. And we do want to use a chainsaw, so we can feed this place even more. So always having about just a little bit, just 200 in there, totally fine. I don't want a big container for it. Again, don't need to use it that much. And most of the liquid biofuel, if not 99.9% of it, sorry, solid biofuel, we want to go over there. So capping it here is totally fine. All right, so now we can cut this away. Build in our 2 meter yet again. Get that there. receive Mark 3. Cut this away. Put our 1 meters back in. Alright, cool. So we can hop down now. So now we have this on the ceiling. Right, so I've decided to use a double ceiling wall mount. And that way I could bring this just a bit lower. And it should just plug in, I think. And we use a straight belt. And that way, yeah, they're traveling together, but they're not interrupting each other. That's a bit better. I might move these as well, but I was just trying to get that layout. So now, now I can do a conveyor wall hole 3. I'll probably block one of these gaps in a minute with a display sign or something. And I'm actually tempted as well to push the wall in. I think it might look a bit better that way. So we'll do one here, push it in with a nudge, bring it back with a half nudge. Oh. There we go. Right, so you can now connect to the very top one. And you in the middle is going to connect to the one not so top. So 1, 2. It's always in increments of 2. So that can just go in there. Top one can go in there. Yeah, so they divide nicely. And then you're going to go in there. And you're going to go all the way there. Right, so I've just brightened up the day so we can kind of see this area just a little bit better. So basically now we have our steel wall. We have the display sign flipped around, so we can't really see it much. It just looks like it's like completely blocked, so that's kind of nice. That allows us to have these 2 wall holes here. There's a great mod that actually just lets you put a wall hole on anything, just like you do a floor hole. But we don't have that in the game at the moment, so I'm not using mods in this playthrough, other than the time of day one. Anyway, this rolls through and just goes here, and it'll go upstairs, and we can kind of monitor the solid biofuel that then rolls upstairs, and we'll give this a nicer finish to it as well, but that'll give us a real clean one-stop location to check that everything is running okay. Obviously, we could just do that with the machine, but it's just kind of nice to have that area too. Alright, nice. So, is that logistics done? We have a little bit extra to do, I think. I'll just have to think about it. Alright, so last but not least, one of the most vital components of this build is the actual water. So I think we need 22.5 per minute to travel up to our refinery to mix with the solid biofuel. We've got plenty of water around us, and I'm thinking we'll just use this little place here. So I'm just going to cut away one of the foundations. We'll bring this down. I'll just use default mode to the bottom, just so we can create a temporary latch point for our water extractor. Just make everything nice and symmetrical and lined up. So we'll go to about there. Now we can bring this across, do a floor hole, and this should be less than 10 meters. So you get 10 meters free head lift with the building, right? So we've got 4, 8, down to the water level it's more than 10 meters, but if we count from the tube, which I think you do, it's less than 10 meters. So I think we'll be fine. So we'll risk it. So we'll go to there, horizontal to vertical mode, bring that up. I'll clean this all up with cosmetics. I thought about trying to make a smaller underfloor cavity that the pipe travels through, but it's a little awkward for bringing the pipe up and out. You kind of need about 5 meters of space, not just 4, so it's, I don't know. I'll think about it, but anyway, we'll just bring this along here for now. So we want it to go all the way down to this spot into the center. So I guess the halfway point is about there. And we'll go to here, so we go 1, 2, bring that down. Now, our pump was going to have to be somewhere in this location. Because we do need a pump to get the rest of the way up there. So, a pump like somewhere even here would be perfect. Oh yeah, I'm fine with that. Anyway, we'll just go like this. Right, so, cut that. In fact, we don't need that support anymore. We can get rid of it and just go straight up now. Bonk. Cool. That should be it. So I think that's pretty much the logistics done. I'm going to go around, make sure everything is hooked up to power. Oh, and the very last thing is I have to set the recipe on every single machine, right? I don't think I've done that yet. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I decided to finish all of the cosmetics myself, primarily because most people I think want to see the logistics, not necessarily me fumbling with cosmetics that, let's be honest, are somewhat average. However, I am really happy with how this place has come together, a little less so on the outside, but the coloring scheme that I've gone with, the polished floors, the lighting on top, I'm really happy with it, especially at nighttime, which we'll have a look at later. The other reason I decided to do it was because time is dragging in the video a little bit, and also, now we have the factory completely encased and complete, we'll be able to turn it on and really enjoy the full atmosphere, if you want, the full payoff of a fully finished factory turning on for the first time. Because sometimes when you've got like partial bits exposed or no roof and stuff, you just miss a little bit of that satisfaction when everything gets up and running. So why am I out here? I just thought I would mention that the power feeding into here currently is feeding into a power switch, so we still just have to turn it on. That's a bit temporary. I think I'll probably end up building the road network further out in this direction and create a sort of a little parking garage for us to deliver our explorers to, or our truck, or whatever we're driving at the time, just for us, for personal use. This place doesn't need a truck station, doesn't need a connection to the road network, but it would just be nice. There's not much in the way, but it would need a kind of a road to be raised up and over, and I just felt we'll do it some other time. But yeah, just thought I would mention that. Obviously then, drone ports need to go up on top, and we'll have a little tour of the ceiling a little bit later. Alright, let's head in there, let's flick the switch, and then we can kind of go through the production chains, and I'll also talk through the cosmetics in case anyone's curious how certain things were done or made. Alright, so with that switch pulled, that means now the water extractor should now be active, 22.5 per minute, as will our miners. Can't remember the exact numbers, but of course we're going to be, at the end, making 60 empty canisters per minute, rolling out with our alternate recipe that mixes copper sheet with iron plate. So we can see down at the end of that corridor, that miner should be now kicking into action as well. Excellent, the first smelting has begun. I also decided to reorganize the storage containers. You can see that now this one is number 1. No longer is it number 16. That's because it's the first to fill. This way, we can have a look at this one and count backwards and go, or count up, I suppose, and say, yeah, the first 7 have stuff in it, you know, so that means there's 9 that are empty. I just thought numbering-wise it made a bit more sense that way. As we move down into the atrium, if you want to call it that, this is our bioorganic deposit box. We can start dropping stuff into this, shall we? Let's deposit a bunch of stuff, almost at random. All this stuff in here. Now, I've actually written down everything that was in my inventory, so we can actually see exactly how much biomass I got from all of that. Now, if we just have a little climb up, maybe a viewing platform might be kind of good here. Although we could just hop up into this box. We can now see that our wood is going down to the final category, all the final row, I guess. The remains are in the middle row, and the slugs are in the earliest row with the solid biofuel or biomass over on that constructor over there. And some of the stuff that we threw in that wasn't supposed to go into machines has already made it around to that box. But of course, you pull out what's in the last part of the inventory first. So, I've taken stock of all this. It's 203 remains, 355 wood, 387 leaves, as well as 5 blue slugs, 3 purple slugs, and 2 yellow. The reason I mention that is just, I'd be curious to see how many power shards are we going to get, and how much packaged liquid biofuel will we get by the end. Of course, cosmetically, I wanted this to be the sort of focal point. Big windows looking out at the lake so we can watch the bean having a wash and kind of moonwalking around or whatever, gliding around the sand. And then also just to have that nice striking view of the big cliffs and the waterfalls and stuff. I just think it's really cool looking. I also decided to add in little packets of windows, little pockets of windows in between the machines in certain places so that we could just, from up here, see if the machines are getting what they need to and if they're full right now looking to move up. So we could also look at the chain. Remember, everything is being slooped, so the original recipes are being doubled. So 4 wood nets us 40 biomass. Everything gets turned into biomass, right? So some stuff goes into alien protein first, so now spitter 1 remains goes into 2 alien protein. That 2 alien protein is going to go, sorry, that 1 alien protein then becomes 200 biomass. 1 stack of biomass is 200. So as soon as this process is 1, bang, the machine is full. And then it has to just get this stuff out. 3,000 per minute. Ain't no belt speed in the world good enough for that. There's nothing we can do about it. The machine is destined to get backed up. I can only imagine, what would it be up to, actually, if you did this? 7,500 per minute. That would be awesome to see. But anyways, so yeah, and we can obviously just check down here, make sure it's constantly getting what it needs. It's getting the protein, and we can check then in the lower levels, I suppose, the biomass that is supposed to be making its way all the way back here into this machine. So we just saw that we're making batches of 200. 1 protein makes 200 biomass. 8 biomass is now making 8 biofuel. So it's 1 to 1. It would normally be halved. So that's awesome. The 8 biofuel then is going to roll over here. As we can see, it's doing so already. Oh! Might have a little problem. I don't see no water. Oh, the water's just arriving now, actually. Awesome. We're only making 22.5 at the water extractor, so it just takes a while to fill the pipes. And I'm happy with that. This should get going now. The first batches are being made. Excellent. So what was I saying? Yeah, so 6 solid biofuel becomes 8 liquid biofuel. So we actually get a little bit more out of the liquid, out of the solid, I should say. We get more liquid out of the solid. So you can see how the numbers just scale like crazy because of Somersloops. Because we're doubling it multiple times over all along the way. So it's like, boom, 200 stack of biomass. Then that gets like doubled into, or it becomes 1-to-1 with the solid biofuel. The solid biofuel, we get a little bit more out of that. And then it's now just going to roll into here and start filling up. Once this gets kind of full, then I'll turn on the packager and we'll start making stuff there too. I thought I would go down and have a look at the storage area. Of course, we can see that everything is now running correctly. We have the water pipe on our left. We have the solid biofuel rolling upstairs, looking good. In case we need a little reminder of how to treat these creatures, in case we're getting a little soft, just remember, they sting kittens to death. Little motivation, you know, for what we're doing here is the right thing. I don't want anyone doubting it. Alright, and then we also have our little maintenance area, right? So we can see the solid biofuel rolling this way. And that's where it's going to move up. These are Mark III belts, but I've capped it to a 60 belt going into the machine on purpose. I'm totally fine with that. It looks better that way. We have our pump down here as well, backlit, of course. Some lighting to guide us around. We can also exit and run down to the water extractor to see that everything's working spick and span down here as well. I use that vent blueprint I've used before, right? The narrow road segment bottom vent, to kind of allow the water to breathe, you know? We're not disrupting the stream or the ecosystem too much, other than what's going on in this facility, I suppose. Anyway, don't worry about that. Right, so that's pretty much it, right? That's it for kind of most of the cosmetics. I tried to create little walkways up and over where it made sense, blocked off little areas where that made sense. I put in the modern rail as we go up and down each staircase, because I had it without for a while, and then I was like, I don't know, it kind of seems like it'd be fitting to have it. Oh, and of course, at the very end, we have our big frame glass again, just to give us that nice view of everything outside. Alright, cool. So that's pretty much it. We can have a look at the place at nighttime as well in a minute. Let's turn on that packager and see how we're getting on. And then we'll start churning through the actual liquid. Oh yeah, this pipe is now filled up too. Excellent, so we've got 100 in there. That's more than enough to get us started. Let's begin. Alright, so the canisters are rolling in, the liquid biofuel flooding in. Love to see it. Nice. I might just allow things to run really smooth. Let's just get rid of this. And now it's just 60 per minute rolling into 60 per minute. Inevitably, it'll back up once we run dry of our base ingredients. And speaking of the base ingredients, I imagine everything has gone out of that box now. Yep, the container is now empty. It's just a matter of letting everything process for a while. And then we can see everything that wasn't going to be used. We can take that back. So let's have a look upstairs. Right, so I decided to add in these like little shelters. I'm a bit torn on them. It was advice from the comments before. It's kind of a nice idea. I don't know if I've done it very well though. This one maybe less so. This one's a bit nicer. We have this sort of vent here as well to protect us from, well, not to protect us, but you know, to kind of allow for the escape of the steam and also whatever the weird slooping gases are that are coming out of this thing, this refinery. Same thing is kind of happening here with the chimney stack. There we go. Looks so cool. And yeah, I decided to close off this area as best as I could. If you use the Infinite Nudge mod, I could create a blueprint where I was thinking of turning like this tarp sideways. So you can turn it sideways. I don't know if you can do that in the base game. There might be a way to do it, but I'm not sure how. But if this was like 90 degree on its side, and then you place it in here, it might look a bit better, like a fence that goes across the chimney stack. So I'd really like to do that, and it wouldn't be too crazy. You could just save it as a blueprint. You wouldn't need the modded game. It would just load the blueprint with that direction in mind, so it'd be totally fine. But I might do something like that every now and then. I haven't done it so far. Alright, we'll head back down. So pretty straightforward up there. Room for the drone ports, of course, that are going to go 1, 2, and 3, somewhere over there in the line. They'll just be next to each other. And they're going to be right in position for this to feed straight upstairs. And there'll be another container somewhere around here as well, in this open space. So there's definitely plenty of space. I just wonder if I've done the lights wrong. I didn't really think about that. But basically here is just going to be going straight up, and that should be aligned with the drone port. So when we send bio stuff here, it'll just go straight into there. Anyway, it's not for a later date, I suppose, but I probably should have done the floor hole. Maybe when I give out the save, that'll be there. And there we go. We can see the first batches of packaged liquid biofuel are rolling around. Little inconsistency there I noticed for a minute, but it looks like we're good now. Might be because of how the machine was turned off for a moment. But once that last little inconsistent bit makes it through, we should just see rammed belts. 60 per minute, packaged liquid biofuel making its way over. Ah, you know what I have forgotten to do? It's a dimensional depot. This is supposed to go into a dimensional depot. Alright, there we go. So now we can just say left output is going to be anything, and center output can be overflow. And just like that, we have liquid biofuel packaged in our inventory. You'll love to see it. Yeah, so just in thinking about it, a common thing with alien protein, you do get so much biomass out of it. It's easily the most valuable thing to just throw in there and yields you the most. And it's certainly very easy to get. You just kill a couple of animals or something and then boom, you're set for quite a long time. However, you can also make DNA points from this, right? So DNA points or DNA capsule. So 1 protein to 1 capsule. So what you could do is if you felt like you didn't want to, quote, waste it, you know, you just change that constructor to make DNA points instead and send it into an awesome sync by default. So might do that later in the series if I feel like I need some. What's going on with the bean? I hear him screaming. Oh, he's dying. Oh my god, he's being gassed. Screaming, suffocating, screaming, can't move. Horrendous. Damn, as soon as I left the area and came back, like his body flopped down, but it's gone. They've absorbed him. Alright, so now it's nighttime in the factory. I thought I would just give a brief little walk around and tour of what this place looks like. I didn't want to use super bright lights, so it does mean that the factory is sort of dimly lit, but I'm very happy with it. I think it looks good. You know, we can easily see what's going on. It is just dimly lit. We can have a look upstairs as well. So these are using my clean ceiling light, just with a kind of a purple setting to them. These ones are also the same, although the setting is slightly different. You might notice, very subtly, there is teal on one side and purple on the other side. Super hard to notice. The longer I look at it, the more white it becomes. But it definitely, you can see the reflection, actually. That kind of gives you the idea of it. You can do that by setting a gradient to the background, a vertical or horizontal gradient. And then you can change one color to the other. And that way you get a kind of a nice blend of colors. I wanted to go for a sort of iridescent style. A sort of silvery, purpley, bluey kind of color. And yeah, I think we kind of achieved it. So quite happy with that as well. How are we doing here now? 100 stacked in there. And we now have 157 out of 200. And then we'll test it out, of course. We've got to test out the packaged biofuel and see how far we can go with it. Because I'm still using regular fuel at the moment. Alright, so from up here, we'll just switch now to the other fuel type. I mean, I'm not going to do any comparison tests really or anything in the video. Just trust me, it burns way better. So packaged liquid biofuel. And if you just throttle it a little bit, you know, we can fly around like this for a very long time. Slow burns to get to different hard to reach places. Look at that, I'm not even halfway down, you know? It's so good. You could just, it's basically like a mini hover pack. If you don't mind just tapping spacebar frequently enough. So I love packaged liquid biofuel. Absolutely love it. Alright, so there it is. I'm just floating my way back down. We'll see how much we've made a little bit later. It's actually going to take so long that I'll probably just leave things running for like 15 or 20 minutes or something, and then we can check in to see how much we've actually made. And I can wrap this bad boy up as a video. But yeah, man, packaged biofuel, so good. It's nice to have some packaged turbo fuel though as well to get that acceleration boost. So I don't really think I thought this one through. I was waiting around for liquid biofuel to build up, and I was like, man, it's taking a while, you know. I thought 3, 4, maybe 5 containers are going to fill up. It's going to be impressive. It's great. But let's see if we can make it go faster. So I boosted all the machines, and we filled the buffer like almost to max capacity, and I was churning out even more packaged fuel, and I was like, man, this is still taking ages. So I went down and had a look at how much reserve we have. Currently, we've got a container with 9,600 regular biomass in there, and we've got about 283 protein. Remember, 100 is in the constructor above. So I was like, geez, there's still so much to go. Because if we do some math, and I've already been doing it, we have 283 protein. That converts to 200 biomass each, so it's times 200. It's 56,600. 56,600 biomass, right? Plus what we've already got, 9,600 there. That's 66,200. And that will be converted 1-to-1 into solid biofuel. That solid biofuel goes in here, and then it kind of increases by about 1 1.33 recurring. So we should get, I think maybe even more than that. Let's see. Yeah, 88,046 packaged liquid biofuel. Now, 88,046 divided by our 16 containers, divided by 4,800, I should say, it means we could fill 18 containers. We've already filled 1.5. So basically, the story is, with about, what was it? Let's see how much I wrote down. 200 remains, 300 wood, 400 leaves, thereabouts. You'll fill more containers than we've already built. So this is why liquid biofuel is extremely potent and powerful, because it can be slooped so many times over. Now, the idea was just to use this all for my personal jetpack. However, there is so much that it does make me think, oh, maybe in the next episode or in a future one, we could start powering trucks and have a delivery area from here where they drive off. In the future, it will just be drones, but why not try to make use of it earlier? It seems like it would be a waste to let this place just fill up so much, because I'm never going to burn through it in my jetpack. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I'll think about it. It depends what you guys think. Do you want, trucks, biofuel? Are you happy with that? I am. I'd like to do it. All right, well, anyways, that's going to be it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.